All right, hello and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session. I am the City Forest Officer for the City of Los Angeles, Rachel Mallarich, and we're really fortunate today to have somewhat of a large group joining us to talk about a really exciting program, the Tree Ambassador Program. We're going to start off just hearing from two members of that team, and then when we get to our question and answer, you'll get to meet some of the other project team members. So we have with us today Bryce, who is a Climate Correction Fellow with City Plants, and Miles, who is also a Climate Correction Fellow, but with Koreatown Youth and Community Center, or KYCC. And they're going to be sharing a little bit about this new, really exciting project that's been in the works for some time, the Tree Ambassador Program. And I'm going to hand it over to them. So glad to have you guys.
Hello, everybody. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Miles. Thank you for the introduction, Rachel. Thank you for having us in this space as well. We're excited to share the program with you.
Yeah, my name is Bryce Lewis Smith. Like Rachel said, I use he, him pronouns, and I am working with City Plants for the Tree Ambassadors program. Thank you for having us.
Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. Before we really go into what the program is, we wanted to dive into the history, sort of the present and the future need for this Tree Ambassador program. So as you can see on this map, Los Angeles as a city has pretty high tree canopy disparity. You'll see, if you can't see the numbers on there, the dark green represents high tree canopy coverage areas, and that is about 37%. And as it gets lighter, it gets lower tree canopy coverage, and the lower bottom of that is about 10%. This is important because communities with low tree canopy coverage experience detrimental health effects, including much higher rates of heat-related illness, such as asthma and heat stroke. These same neighborhoods often lack access to green space, such as parks and gardens. This contributes to increased public health risks and threatens the health, vitality, and strength of our communities. Next slide, please. So here you can see sort of a comparison, same map of one on canopy coverage and the other of heat map. I think right away we can see a correlation between low tree canopy coverage and increased surface temperatures. So those are the areas on the left side. Low are not green, and temperature is represented by an increasing darker red on the heat maps page. There are 4 identified areas on each map. These areas are the same, and they're not picked arbitrarily. These are areas that were previously graded on a scale for redlining. So we have areas marked A through D, and those were also representative of the grades that they got for redlining. So D would represent a disinvested community, and A would represent sort of the top tier of that scale. And we can right away see sort of the discrepancy that it's created. Tree canopy coverage is extremely low in areas C and D. The disinvested areas ranges about 11 to 12%, and it's high, about high 30s to low 40s in areas A and B. And we can see on the heat map, sort of a correlation to temperature is created, where the disinvested areas, the areas with low tree canopy coverage, see an increase of about 11 degrees on an extreme heat day. So you'll have 118 degrees in area D versus 107 degrees. Admittedly not, not great at 107, but still significantly lower than 118. Next slide, please. So the reason that we sort of wanted to establish this baseline of the correlation is that we're going to see a dramatic increase rather in the amount of extreme heat days we see in Los Angeles City. So extreme heat days are defined by days where the temperature exceeds 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And we see this increase sort of across the board over the next 20 to 30 years for all of the neighborhoods in Los Angeles. We see dramatic increases in the valley where it increases by 30 days, but even some increases in areas where we don't see too many extreme heat days now, such as Beverly Hills or Koreatown. We see those numbers sort of tripling and quadrupling over the next 20 years, which can have dramatic effects if these areas aren't really equipped to deal with extreme heat. Yeah, next slide, please. So in order to combat the future where we see increased heat-related illness, we, in partners with some of the other people on this panel today, created the Tree Ambassador Program. And sort of the goal of this program is to create trained, invested, and paid community leaders who can build connections within their community and ultimately plant more trees in the areas that they're servicing and also happen to be historically under-resourced neighborhoods. So we're hopeful that through the program, the Tree Ambassadors will feel empowered to create that change in their communities. Sorry, I forgot this slide. So this is sort of an overview of all the members of the team working on this project. Bryce and I are members of the Climate Action Corps. City Plants has partnered with Climate Resolve, Tree People, and KYCC to onboard and train ambassadors over the length of this program. And the funding was provided by LADWP, CAL FIRE, the United States Forest Service, and Prop 68.
Awesome. Yeah. So to provide some context for the Tree Ambassadors, we created a 9-month training session that includes 10 different trainings. These trainings are going to be held in person, and we've already had our first one, and it was held online due to COVID-19 restrictions. So just like a general layout of our trainings, we start out with like an introduction to urban forestry, move into community organizing for a green and equitable future, where we dive into the history of redlining within Los Angeles. And then 3, we talk about tree selection for right tree, right place, right reason, and tree identification basics. And then for our 4th training, we dive into tree planting and young tree care basics. 5th, urban heat island effect and climate change and how trees can be a sustainable solution for this. 6, common barriers to urban greening within our neighborhoods and how to overcome these barriers or just address them and acknowledge them and let your community members feel like they're being heard. 7, we collaborate with Indigenous leaders throughout Los Angeles with the Tongva tribes and the Quiche Gabrielino in our 7th chapter of Native Los Angeles. 8th, we go into mature tree health. And then for our last 2 trainings, we really want to like set our ambassadors up for success. So we talk about careers in urban greening / the environmental field in general. And then our last training, we do a program wrap up and review where we kind of go over our goals and see if we actually reached them for this program, for this pilot program. And so our program goals for like the whole reason we started this program was to support tree ambassadors as they work within their communities to raise awareness about the issues of climate change and the impacts of urban heat within their communities. Share how planting and caring for trees is one sustainable solution for urban heat, and listen to the needs of our communities and provide support in response. Our like numerical goals are really to secure 30 street tree applications for neighbors, community members and businesses, and 30 yard tree applications for over the 9-month period of the program. In total, that should round out to be at least around 800 trees because we have around 13 ambassadors. So each ambassador would plant 60 trees. And so in what ways are we compensating the ambassadors to make sure that this is like a bilateral sharing of information rather than like an extraction of local knowledge? We really wanted to make sure that our ambassadors are getting paid. So we onboarded them as part-time employees to organize their own communities and plant trees within their neighborhoods. And within our training sessions, we're providing space to share their expertise with us, as well as like give trainings to them and talk about the context of Los Angeles's urban canopy cover. And then we're bringing experts from the field of urban greening to like further support those trainings, as well as creating a community action toolkit and leading leadership and development professional like workshops for our ambassadors. So the program materials are really based on these 3 different slides here. Our first one, the most important one, is the community action toolkit, which I have right here. It is kind of like this really cool zine type tool textbook that provides context about urban greening in Los Angeles and our urban forest. It includes pre, post, and group activities for the ambassadors to participate in and actually engage with materials. And then our welcome package contains like our shirts, our stickers, and like outreach materials that we're going to be using throughout the program. And then the Google Classroom is the online version of the Tree Ambassador Community Action Toolkit, where ambassadors can come in and submit like homework for their pre-post and group activities, as well as share out what's actually going on within their neighborhoods as they're going out and having these conversations. Our toolkit is in both English and Spanish, as well as our training. So this whole program is completely bilingual, just so then we can make sure that we're equally accessing different communities within Los Angeles. And then this is kind of a general layout of the program toolkit. We just have like introductions and then sections with our pre-trainings, our group trainings, and then we end it off with our post trainings. This is an example of what our post training for chapter 1 is. It's our walk your block. And so we ask them to get out and walk their community and try to look at the trees and the canopy within their neighborhood within the context of the training that we provided. So what do they wish was different about the trees in their communities? What do they hope stays the same about the trees in their communities? And do they see opportunities to plant more trees? These activities are really structured to get the tree ambassadors out into the community, hold conversations, and start working towards their numerical goals of planting trees within their neighborhoods. This is just an up close photo. If you see a tree ambassador in your neighborhood wearing one of these shirts, go up, say hi, thank them for their service, because yeah, they're a friendly group of people, and we're really excited for them to start hitting the streets. And then our final like material that we're providing for them are these research tools that will really help them understand Los Angeles's urban forests. And so our first one is the mapping inequality tool, which is diving into how neighborhoods were redlined throughout Los Angeles. And then the Calenviro screen is how environmental risks and vulnerability affects the different communities that our ambassadors are based in. And then of course the LA Tree Canopy tool, which draws connections between histories of redlining and present day conditions of tree canopy.
Great, thank you, Bryce. So I think we've scheduled this presentation during a really good part of the program because we've gotten to actually meet our ambassadors after our first training. But just sort of an introduction to who they are. We have 13 ambassadors in total. 10 of them are primarily English speakers, 3 of them are primarily Spanish speakers. And as you can see on the map on the right side, they represent pretty different parts of LA City. Next slide, please. And not only do they come from different parts of the city, they come from all different walks of life in both experience, age, and sort of what they bring to the program. So we have people coming from marketing, we have people coming in as a GIS analyst, and we have a lot of students, current students and graduate students in the program. So a lot of different ways, I think, that they will be able to approach their community and sort of share within each other effective strategies. One thing that we see in common, though, is they all share a strong passion for environmental justice, community engagement, and they're really dedicated to bringing trees into their community. Next slide, please. So here's a fun little screenshot of our first training. This includes all the project partners, including the tree ambassadors. And if you look closely, you can see both Bryce and I. Little I Spy game, yeah. And then one of the things that's really important about this program is we wanted to hear from the ambassadors themselves. This is a pilot program, so we want to know what they wanted to learn from this program. So I'm just going to read a couple of them out loud. But the ambassadors expressed that they wanted to develop communication skills that would allow them to engage with their community and get them involved in climate advocacy and other social justice issues, as well as learn how to foster community-driven tree planting and tree care events. Next slide, please. And then we also wanted to ask them what they wanted from us as sort of the organizations hosting the programs and the trainings. So what do they need in order to thrive as a tree ambassador? And there are a lot of common themes in this one, but a strong sense of community within the program and open communication and support between the staff and the ambassadors. Next slide, please. Yeah, and once again, this is just a pilot program, but we are really hopeful for its future and its reproducibility in other neighborhoods. We really hope that the tree ambassadors will sort of take this project unto themselves and be able to help close the tree canopy equity gap in Los Angeles.
Awesome. And with that, we're opening up for questions. We have our partners from KYCC, City Plants, as well as Tree People and Climate Resolve here to help answer these questions.
And I really appreciate the whole team kind of sending a rep so we can get a sense of and hear from the whole project team. And I think that's really one of the strengths here is I really am grateful to all the project partners who found different ways to bring together those different funding sources to build a bigger program. I think that there were a couple different things in the works, and the flexibility of the partners and of our funders really has allowed something really excellent to be built that I think, again, we'll see what the results are. I'll just add that one other piece of context is we have some folks, we want to reach a wider audience, right? The energy efficiency program for free trees in Los Angeles has existed for some time now and has been really successful, but we want to continue to find more people that want trees and have more people understand the importance of trees in their communities. And as someone who managed a team of folks that went out doing canvassing, no one wants to open their door on a Saturday morning and talk to you about trees. You know, it works for some folks, but we thought, let's try a different way to approach and engage with people and start with local residents to do that. So again, really excited to see the progress of this project as it goes forward. You guys have such a beautiful curriculum you put together and such a great swath of partners. We do have first a kudos, a great, nice presentation, and there's interest in seeing if they can get a copy of it. So Rachel, I'll see if you can share with us a copy that you would feel comfortable with us emailing out to participants from today. One of the questions is, how are you recruiting ambassadors? And I know that Climate Resolve, Tree People, and KYCC all hired tree ambassadors. Maybe Christina, do you want to start us off with how KYCC went about recruiting tree ambassadors?
Hi, everyone. So the way that we recruited ambassadors was that with the organizations that we were working with, we were already looking for those community leaders that were already invested in that were already doing work in their community and that wanted to do something extra. So we went to neighborhood council meetings, and we also offered up the position there at the corresponding community meetings, and we posted it also through social media, and that's how we were able to recruit some of the folks. We were very fortunate that through our agency, we also have some parent groups that we work with, so we were able to recruit some folks through that means as well. And we were, in total, we were able to recruit for our team a panel, 7 folks. So we've completed our recruitment for our team.
Great, thank you. Climate Resolve or Tree People, you want to, Gabriel or Luis, you want to chime in with some of the recruitment?
Yeah, for us, it was a very similar process where, you know, we posted the job opportunities online and all the usual websites that we do, that we post our job openings. And then we also connected with different partners, whether it was on the east side, which is one of the places we're doing work. So we reached out to folks like Legacy LA, Northeast Trees, and other folks. And then in Conejo Park, which is our second area of focus, we also reached out to some local partners that we've worked with in the past, and that way we were able to find folks that were really kind of passionate about trees in their communities, and I think that's how it worked out, and we were able to hire the folks that we did. Yeah, so I think that's the situation for us.
Very similar for Tree People, and I think one of the exciting opportunities that comes from doing climate work is that you have to be creative sometimes and you have to build on momentum. We're fortunate to have a few different projects that are already happening in the region where we're focused. And what happens is when you have a funded project, you are able to build momentum. You'd be surprised, or some folks might be surprised, that the amount of other orgs and existing community members that are searching for ways to get involved. So when you have a project somewhere, you naturally, you gain momentum from the community already. So we were able to tap into some of those contexts that we have and get the word out. And we were very pleasantly surprised with the amount of interest that we got, and the folks. It was just very humbling to see how many folks exist already in our communities that want to do this amazing work.
It was funny, like for KYCC, when we started advertising in February, but we didn't really get an influx of responses until Tree People and Climate Resolve started advertising. So I think once the word got out from all the corresponding agencies, that's when people just responded. And it was amazing to see that. So yeah, just like what Lee said, it's when they saw the movement, it's like, oh, this is really happening. And that's when people took interest.
Great.
Yeah, and then another thing that happened too is we would get folks. So this project, it's very community centered. So we're each of us are focusing on very specific neighborhoods. So we would get folks that would apply who want to do this amazing work, but they would actually live in some of these other geographical areas. So we were able to connect them with some of these other organizations that have other projects going on, which I think was also a great opportunity to work with Climate Resolve and KYCC.
Yeah, great. I think one of the other things I think is really exciting about this program is, again, you shared in the presentation the different walks of life, the different professions that these people are coming from to do this work. And one of the hopes is whether or not they choose to continue on a path with work in urban forestry field or in a related environmental justice field, that we're leaving behind in these neighborhoods another resource, someone who knows more about trees and can continue to be that resource for the community by having yet another person there that has gained a deeper tree knowledge through those 9 to 10 courses that they'll be having over the course of the program. One other question that we have, what watering commitment are you requiring from the resident who gets a tree? Can you get them to commit to keeping the tree alive regardless of how many years it will take? Watering hot weather, if appropriate for the species, say in even year 8 or 9. What is the plan for the watering commitment? And I think I'll just say that one of the components is, again, leaving behind this expert or even having the project be so hyper local focused is going to allow for some additional oversight, at least at the beginning, of what kind of tree care support the community needs. I think you've all built in a really good mechanism for hearing from the community what kind of additional support they might need. But I don't know, Rachel or Luis, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there is no universal answer, right? And that's really one of the benefits about this program and these questions that we're asking the ambassadors, right? It's like getting to learn your community. Like, are there sidewalks? Is there a water hose? Does the house have a sprinkler? Is the sprinkler broken? What region, right? So in the Valley, you might have other things to look for versus where KYCC is working. So I think that having that very localized answer is critical. And then it's also engaging with the person who's going to be responsible for the tree. I've met a lot of folks through my work who actually overwater their tree, right? I've met people who say, yeah, don't worry. Every morning I come out here and I water my tree for an hour, and I do it every day before I go to work. And that bucket you gave me, yeah, I know you told me to put 3, but that didn't seem like enough. So I've been putting 10 because, I just really love my tree. So intentions, right? Intentions are great, but it's connecting the intentions with the cause, with that science, and making sure that the tree succeeds. But I think the universal answer is talking to folks, demonstrating it to them, giving them those resources, and then being available to answer questions.
And I'll just add, yeah, thanks for that, Luis. It's really important to fine tune who you're talking to. That's part of the work of community organizing, right? But through the City Plans program, thanks to our partnership with GWP and their support, we are able to offer free street trees and free yard trees, and we do on our website require at least a 3-year commitment, and we really do try to encourage 5. The idea, though, is that we will create a connection between create tree stewards, tree ambassadors, but also tree stewards in neighborhoods who will be inclined when they see their tree suffering during extreme heat events to water it year 9, year 10 as those trees mature. That's really the ultimate goal. But we do require folks to, when they sign up for our program, in the DWP program, we ask them to commit to watering trees for at least 3 years. Yeah.
And again, the investment here from DWP in this program is in part allowing you to have someone there that can provide some of that training. As people are watering their trees during that first year, they have a local person that maybe they may feel more comfortable approaching, or that they know as a resource to help them understand better what watering they need. I definitely hear you on the overwatering. I have seen that. I've also seen trees not get watered, but I've seen that as well, where, you know, the tree has no access to oxygen because the soil stays saturated and the tree dies for a little too much love. So that's why you're training these local experts to be able to be a support and an additional resource to their communities. One other question, and also if there's anything additional that you want to add about the current program, feel free to do so. But do we know other cities that have a similar program to this?
I can try to take that one. I know I've seen a few, and the one that we referenced a lot when we were building out this program was the Neighborhoods program in Sacramento. Slightly different, and I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe their Neighborhoods folks are paid. So this was one of the, in our minds, one of the cool parts about this program is the ability to pay ambassadors for the hard work of community organizing, knowing that this is programs like this have traditionally relied on volunteerism, acknowledging that some people have more time to volunteer than others. We're really hoping that being able to hire folks part-time would kind of be the new innovative part of this type of work. And really do just want to take the time to thank the LA Department of Water and Power and all of the project partners for providing the funding to do that, because without it, we would definitely not be here. So yeah, for the original question, I think Neighborhoods program, I have seen a lot of really critical and important work around tree equity and community organizing and urban heat popping up all throughout the country. I have not yet encountered a paid community organizing program like this yet, but if there is anybody out there, please reach out and let us know, because we would love to collaborate and get to know your program as well.
And I think that, again, the scale of Los Angeles is sometimes what's daunting in urban forestry work, is having such a large city. And so even if we do have experts, it's a drop in the bucket in comparison to the population. So I'm so excited for this program to kind of expand the number of people we have involved in the urban forestry field. And I want to throw out there, I saw that post-training activity that Bryce shared with us during the presentation. I think maybe we'll get a screenshot of that and put it in the blog on the Office of Forest Management webpage, and encourage people that watch this webinar to maybe do it themselves. I mean, a number of us are tree lovers and advocates and already are pretty aware of trees in our community, but I think it's a great example of an activity of taking a moment to really look at the urban forest around you and be aware of what's happening, and appreciative also of what trees are doing in your community or where the need may be. We have one more question, which I'll read and see if we have time to answer. Maybe in the future, we can hire tree ambassadors to come educate residents in our neighborhood about tree care if we can pay them. A way for the ambassadors to make more money, and then we can get a new educated voice other than a couple of volunteers who are burning out, or just because it'd be good to hear from a new young voice, residents might listen more. So I hear in that some support for the program, and I definitely, I think that there's an interest in expanding this if we see that it's successful. It's a pilot, so we've got this opportunity to try something new. But if it's successful, I definitely agree that there may be multiple uses for the ambassadors. Anything else from our other panelists on this question or on the program as a whole before we sign off today?
I'll just add, we are currently building and fleshing out a section of the City Plans website where all of the toolkits and chapters will be added. So this is meant to I kind of consider what we're building as open source for lots of people to pick and pull from. And I really hope that, people feel like they can access this program, even if they aren't the ambassadors themselves. We really hope we can build this not just for LA, but really help it inform other folks who are interested in building similar programs and making similar climate movements happen in their neighborhoods. So more to come on that.
Great. And again, thank you, Gabriel, Christina, Luis, Bryce, Miles, and Rachel for joining today. One of the strengths of this program absolutely is that it has such a broad coalition working on developing the content, talking about how you're engaging with the ambassadors and supporting them, and really tracking the data on how successful this is in their experience and in the outcomes of additional trees that are healthy in these high need areas. So with that, I think we'll sign off for today. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll be back the second Wednesday in August.
Thank you, everyone.